What are the new initiatives planned to support the assurance of debt and equity securities by state-owned enterprises?
I think debt securities has been there by SOEs to some extent, and CEB and various entities have raised some debt in the market. The issue now is, as you know, with the current economic scenario, the government is, one of its strategies is to sort of peopleize or put the SOEs into the market. So, one of the key areas where when it puts into the market, one of the facilitators would be the stock market. So, if we have the necessary platform in order to facilitate these transactions, in order for the government to raise that capital, is what we are looking at. So, currently there is discussions going on with the various committees that are entrusted with this task, so that the CSC can bring in that platform and the SEC can bring the rules in order to protect the investors and to smoothly facilitate the what I call disposal of these SOEs in the market and in a fair manner. So, currently it is being done, and I think in the next few weeks or months a mechanism will come out how the CSC and the SEC can, the CSC can be used as a platform to raise capital or sell these government assets.
How will the listings of the state-owned enterprises impact the market capitalization of CSE?
So, clearly the market capitalization will grow tremendously. So, for example, today we have over 300 odd listed companies. So, if these now, you know, in the Sri Lankan economy, the SOEs are the biggest. So, some of these SOEs are large. So, if you take for example, Sri Lanka Telecom is large, but that is of all at the moment also in the market. But if you look at some of these other SOEs like Sri Lanka now activity, they will be very large. So, one of the things that will happen is when these large SOEs come to the market, automatically the market cap will go up, right, because the investors will come in and the market value of the market will go up. So, that is one issue. Even though they have only identified about 6 entities, I think, to be Sri Lanka Insurance. So, all these are now Sri Lanka Insurance is the largest insurer, one of the largest insurers in the market. So, that one comes into the market, means market cap will go through the roof. So, that is why it is important for these to come in, and unfortunately Sri Lanka is an economy, though we say private sector, bulk of the large institutions are government. So, the private sector is not necessarily a large segment. So, by the government now deciding to put this into the market cap will definitely improve, and also it will also attract the private capital into the businesses. So, currently what is happening is this private capital to some extent goes into the banks, and then the banks give loans, right. So, here it will directly go into the market.
May I know what are the new products which would contribute towards getting more foreign inflows?
So, I think the CSC has been working on this for a while, where we are looking at different multi-currency boards, where we can attract foreign investors into those boards and attract foreign investments into Sri Lanka. This will give opportunities for local entities to raise capital, either debt or equity, in different currencies other than Sri Lanka rupees, so that we also facilitate foreign investors to come into our market. So, that process has happened. We have got the Ministry of Finance approval, and now various other regulatory agencies like Central Bank and all these things we have been working on. So, hopefully that also within the next, we have been working on this for a while. So, very soon that also will come out into the market, and thereby local companies can or will be able to raise capital in debt and equity instruments in different currencies other than LKR.
So, what are high yield corporate debt securities and how will they impact the market?
So, high yield corporate debt is also a little bit higher risk than the normal debt, right. So, that is why it is high yield. So, the question is that when we bring in these instruments, we need to have the necessary framework in order to protect the possible investors. So, these are, say for example, if you had a AAA corporate debt, that is investment grade debt. but then an entity which is, let's say, CCC, which is below investment grade, that will be high yield. So, but it has certain risks. So, the question is developing rules to protect investors within that risk framework. So, investor must know what the risks that they are taking, but within that framework we must have a mechanism to protect our investors. The second part is that we must ensure that a smooth operation of the market. So, those two are the primary functions. So, with that we will be introducing the high yield corporate bond, but I think in the first phase these will be restricted to knowledgeable investors, because these have a high risk, because we do not want investors, the retail investors and people like that to burn their hands without knowing. So, because of that there will be some protection brought in, some rules will be brought in as to who can trade in these instruments, and generally it will be for the knowledgeable investor.
What are the efforts taken to introduce XBRL reporting platform in Sri Lanka?
So, as you know, the world is moving on, and I think COVID really pushed us to the electronic age, and whereby we are now increasingly reducing the paper trail. That is one. The other thing is then we needed to come up with a reporting and a dissemination platform which will help the investors and the users of this information to analyze it and do various things, and also to get this information across to investors. So, worldwide this platform called XBRL is being used in various countries. This XBRL enables people to get information, analyze this information. So, then you have to have this information in a standardized form. There has to be certain rules around it. There has to be certain methods of putting this information in. Anyone can't put anything they want. There has to be some degree of credibility into that. So that whole environment or the ecosystem has to be created within that. So, at the moment I think the SEC is in discussion with the Institute of Chartered Accountants, who is dealing with financial reporting anyway, in order to see how XBRL can be adopted in Sri Lanka and move towards it. This will also help in today's context, because we are trying to move away from paper. Today you see annual reports which are like 300, 400, 500 pages. We are cutting many trees, as it were. So, how we can disseminate that information to the investing community and the analysts and people like that in a form that will help them to do their analysis plus convey this information. So, that is the platform is XBRL. So, we are, I think, now in the process of seeing how this can be implemented in Sri Lanka. This initiative is nothing new. Some time back also it came, but it didn't get off the ground. But this time it is, we are very convinced that it will, and also what is happening around us I think is helping the push. So, but it will happen. Exactly, digitalization, as well as the fact that now today paper cost is very high. So, companies to spend money on this is it's very expensive, and then when this information goes to, let's say, analysts or even normal shareholder, they have to take this information to analyze it. So, then you have to either key it in or have some method of putting it in, right. XBRL will facilitate all that. So, automatically you can download that information in that form and then start it to your system also, but it will be in a standardized form. Otherwise, if different people start putting the information in different ways, exactly. So, there won't be any consistency in this. So, XBRL will ensure that consistency is maintained.
What are the key new products or initiatives which will be considered under phase 2 when it comes to introducing Islamic capital market products? As I recall, Sukuk has been introduced in Bursa, Malaysia.
So as you know, worldwide there is a growing trend in different types of investors requiring different investment opportunities. So we have, meaning at the end of the day, the world has today gone into assume that we all fit into a nice neat box, which doesn't happen. There are different variations. So Islamic products are like that. So there is a community which would normally not invest in the debt market, the bonds, right, because they don't necessarily believe in interest and things like that. So therefore, there has to be capital market products that come out to attract that investment crowd. So one of the products that we are talking about is this instrument called Sukuk, where we have now got ADB assistance in order to develop the necessary framework so that we can issue these Sukuks in the market. So that will again help the investors who believe that that is a product for their investment opportunities, and give those investors greater opportunity to invest in the capital market, and at the same time the capital market opens out another source of funding for them to carry out their activities.
I think Bursa Malaysia also have sukuk.
Yes, because Malaysia being a predominantly Islamic country, it will have, Middle East has, but even in our case we do have quite a sizable community, which at the moment that capital is out of the capital markets, because they have no other place to invest, right? They can't invest in, say for example, they can't invest in a treasury bill because it has an interest in it. So the sukuk is an alternate product which can raise that capital.
There are several crowdfunding platforms available. So how is CSE and SEC going to facilitate equity crowdfunding platforms in Sri Lanka?
So again, it's the flexibility to the market that we are bringing. So today, with the proliferation of the internet and various things like that, there are different methods to raise money. So crowdfunding is one such mechanism, where through that mechanism you are able to attract a large number of people who wants to invest in companies. So it has benefits from both sides. From an SME side, it has benefits that you are directly going into the larger market, and from the market side, the investors have an opportunity to invest in these companies, otherwise they would have to come through a formal process. So crowdfunding, how should I say, enables that environment, and of course by enabling that environment, we also have to be careful to make sure that we give protection to the investors, we give protection to the people who are using this money, and basically ensuring that there is a smooth functioning in the marketplace and there is trust in that marketplace. So that's where the SEC will come in and make sure that there are necessary checks and balances to facilitate the smooth functioning of these products. So crowdfunding is one area we are looking at, because today we are living in a digitized world. A lot of transactions happen in a digitized world. It doesn't happen in the formal world. So this is to facilitate that, in order to raise money from the general, what I call the general public or the general people out there, and at the same time the entities, the ability to use those funds for their activities. So we are facilitating that.
There have been several efforts taken to introduce derivatives into the Colombo Stock Exchange. So may I know how we are going to facilitate when it comes to introducing structured warrants?
The SEC has been very careful in facilitating these products, because sometimes we are getting pressure even on the cryptocurrencies and all that, why we are not introducing crypto exchanges and all that. But we have to realize Sri Lanka is relatively a small market. We are 22 million people. Our investing community is not necessarily very large. So we need to strike a balance. So in going towards derivative, we are introducing these structured warrants. So which will be like a acid test, also testing the market, and also developing the market. You have to develop risk management techniques when you are using derivatives. That won't happen overnight. So by introducing structured warrants, that will lead towards this whole development to an exchange traded derivative. So we are slowly introducing this, and we will watch and see how the market operates, and bringing the necessary checks and balances to ensure the protection of the investors, protection of the companies, as well as the smooth operation of the market.
Thank you, Mr. Manil Jayesinghe, for your time and effort in this initiative. Thank you all for watching our program, and stay tuned for more.